On the other hand, Yun woke up on an island and saw Anu before him once again, telling him that a new game was starting, and that he had invited him to witness everything like it happened in Mo Fei's spirit world. Just then, a girl arrived, and Yun thought she was Lin. As she spotted him, she wondered if he was wounded, and decided to bandage him up, saying that she could never ignore an injured person. As she began to leave, Yun decided to ask for her name, so she revealed that her name was Yuexian. Yun wondered if he was in her memories or was inside an alternate world, so Anu revealed that they were in the Land of the Seal, a world of Lin's memories that was separate from her fairy world. He told Yun that the only way to heal Lin's pain was to understand everything that happened inside this world. However, Yun thought Anu was up to no good, and said that he would rather return to the original world. Realizing his mind was made up, Anu decided to take his form, but told him that he could never leave. As he punched a tree, a miniature dragon fell off, and Yun realized that it was the same dragon he had fought in the original world. Anu told the dragon to become his new servant, saying that he would return it to the real world after it completed its duty. As the dragon agreed, Anu told it to go spy on Yuexian, so it flew off instantly. Before long, it returned, and began telling him that Yuexian was a depressed girl with a sick sister, whom she couldn't heal of her illness. Hearing his words, Anu thought he had the perfect plan, and began to leave. Yun tried to stop him, but he merely walked through him, making him realize that there was nothing he could do to stop this. Inside the town, Anu began waving at Yuexian, and she thought he was Yun. He told her that he learned her sister was sick and came to offer his help. When she was unwilling to accept his offer, he told her that he was an expert with herbs, and could even help her find the right ones for her sister's illness. Hearing those words, she thought this was her lucky day, and immediately accepted his offer. Shortly, they arrived inside a cave, and Yuexian spotted an ancient herb she thought would be the perfect cure for her sister. As she tried hurrying to it, Anu revealed to her the huge monster before them, and pointed her in a different direction. Excited to collect the herbs, she hurried away, but the dragon thought it could eliminate both of them. Just then, the monster woke up, and Anu saved Yuexian before she was crushed. Even so, she was determined to collect the herbs, and hurried to pluck one of them. Yun thought she would be crushed, and screamed at Anu to get his lazy ass up, but he told him to save her instead. As the rubble nearly crushed her, Yun tried to rescue her, but Anu flashed to her side and saved her, revealing to Yun that it was a trap. Before he could run, the monster crushed him, and Yuexian began running off with Anu. As they ran away, they soon arrived at a cliff, and Yuexian realized that it was a dead end. When the beast appeared before them, Yuexian grabbed a stick as her weapon, and told Anu to escape. As she hurried to strike the monster, it moved its paw, but Anu saved her from getting squashed. With the girl passed out from shock, he decided to set her down by a tree and appeared before the monster. But the monster grew angry at the sight of his useless face, so it smacked him to the ground, and the dragon thought he was killed. However, he merely held up the monster with a finger and electrocuted it before landing on top of the beast. Ready to end this, he knocked it with a finger, and soon spotted the scars on its furs, thinking that the dragon was the one who caused them, so he descended before it. As a punishment for its crime, he kicked it down the cliff. Just then, Lin woke up, and he gave her the basket, saying that her herbs were secured. However, the next day, when he wondered if her sister was healed, she told him that the herbs had failed to work, and that her sister may be growing worse. Deciding on a new plan, he told her that he knows a cure for her sister's illness, and called it the purity of 3 incarnations. Desperate to save her sister, Yuexian told him that she was willing to attain the cure. That night, as Yuan followed her home, he discovered that her sick sister was Lin. And after a few days, Anu began following Lin around the fields, telling her that he wants to be with her forever. She thought he was only interested in getting laid, and told him to get lost. However, he wouldn't quit, and told her that he would be waiting for her the next day like a creepy stalker. As she left, Yun began calling him a disgusting perv that was trying to get laid with 2 sisters. Anu said that he was an alpha male that could have whoever he wants, but Yun thought he was a disgusting lowlife. That night in the sisters' home, Yuexian told Lin that she intends to study a new prescription for her illness, but thought it would be dangerous for her to consume it, especially with its slight chance of success. Having nothing else to live for, Lin offered to try it anyway, but Yuexian told her that she was unwilling to take the risk. After all, her sister was better off bedridden than dead. The next day, Lin arrived in the fields to meet Anu, having drank a potion to temporarily cure her pain. As Anu woke up, he told her that he was happy to see her again, and offered to give her a ride on his boat. Before long, they began sailing on the lake, and Anu revealed that he knows about her illness, and how she sacrificed herself to save her sister. At that moment, Lin's illness grew worse, and she coughed up a little sauce. As she passed out, Yu told Yuan that saving her would change her entire future, and may cause her to even lose all of her memories. At the same time, Yuexian appeared on another boat, wishing she could exchange her own life for her sister. She felt guilty about the accident, and thought that giving up her life was the only way to make up for the past. That night, when Lin woke up at her home, she wondered how she found her way back, and thought her ride on the boat was merely a dream. The memory made her sad, and she shoved aside her soup, saddened by her illness. The following day, as Yuexian left to collect her usual herbs, Lin decided to drink the potion for her cure, and as she sailed on the boat once again, she realized that the previous night was not a dream after all. After a moment, Yu told her that he had found a permanent cure to her illness. Eager to discover it, she asked to know what it was, so Yu told her that the only solution was to eliminate her sister, and to take in all her blood for herself. Meanwhile, inside the original world, the vampire knight tried to slay the princess, but discovered that she was protected by an invisible barrier. Just then, Enqui woke up and hurried to him, recognizing him as her personal security. She told him that she was happy to see him again, and wondered if he was willing to join their travels. At that instant, they heard a blast, and the princess realized they were under attack. On the bridge, one enemy charged at Mo Fei, and the impact of his punch caused the waters to rise. As they charged to fight one another, she soon realized that Lin and Yuexian had been captured. The enemy thought he could utilize her distraction to knock her out, but she blocked his fist and destroyed a weapon. Just then, she spotted Enqui arriving with the knight, and wondered if she was in danger. As the fairies managed to free themselves, Enqui directed the knight to slay the enemies, but he sliced the fairies instead. One enemy wondered why he had not executed the princess already, but even the knight wasn't certain of what to do. Inside Lin's world, she spotted her sister with Yu, and thought she was fucking betraying them. However, Yuexian knew that she was spying on them, and hoped that her plan would succeed. She began saying that she was sick of watching over Lin, and wishes to have a life of her own. But she could not isekai her own sister. Her words made Lin grow worse, and she began coughing up sauce. That night at their home, Yuexian began telling Lin that she had found love, and would soon elope with her man. She told her that she would be making her dinner for the final time, but Lin thought this was her chance to isekai her ass. However, after getting close, she realized that she couldn't finish her off. Even so, Yuexian was bent on finishing the job, and forcefully stuck herself. As she began losing tomato sauce, she told Lin to take her to the lake, as Yu would be waiting to cure her illness. So Lin carried her, and began heading to the lake. After arriving, Yuexian apologized for being a bad sister, and for pretending to hate her when she actually doesn't. As her soul left her body, Yu began telling Lin that Yuexian had sacrificed herself for her, but Lin thought she didn't deserve it, and began heading into the lake. Realizing her intention, Yuan tried to stop her, but she walked through him like a ghost. As she wished for a new life, Yu told her that he has the power to grant it. He said that their only hope was to revive his fairies, and sent her a mystical flower. As she touched it, a colorful light appeared instantly, stretching all the way to the sky, and revealing a giant flower. After this, Yu told Yuan that neither of the sisters became a fairy until he revived them with the fairy seed, and that Lin had cut off her own memories so that she wouldn't remember this very night. Yuan grew angry and tried to punch him, blaming him for their doom. As he missed again, Yu knocked him to the ground. He told Yuan that he actually helped the girls by turning them to fairies, but thought they were both useless anyway, and evaded Yuan's blow. Just as he blocked his kick, he punched the air out of his lungs. However, Yuan still wouldn't quit, saying that the girls weren't video game characters that he could toy with, and began throwing relentless blows. But Yu kneed him and knocked him down again. He told him that their deaths could not be changed by anyone, and wondered how he intends to change the future when he was stuck here. Within a moment, Yuan realized that this world had reset, and as he punched a tree, he discovered that he could feel his environment. So Yu told him that he was offering him the chance to prove that he really could change the future. Yuan tried to punch him, but fell to the ground, and Yu told him that he would remain stuck in this world if he couldn't change the past. At that moment, Yuexian arrived, and before long, they began a repeat of everything that already happened. Thinking he could change the future, Yuan told Yuexian that he found a new cure for Lin's illness. However, after explaining the cure, Yuexian told him that she tried it already, and said that it failed to work. Later that day, Yuan decided to visit Lin for the first time, telling her that her sister found a prescription called the Purity of 3 Incarnation. However, it could only work with a special blood, he told her, and wasn't even guaranteed that it would be successful. He said that Yuexian was keeping it away from her so that she would hate her, but told her not to fall for it. Lin thought he was a good guy and promised to resist Yuexian's plan. The following night, as Yuan had dinner with the girls, Yuexian thanked him for being a good simp and for following her around to collect herbs every day. Yuan thought his plan was successful and was convinced that he had changed the future. Just then, Yuexian passed out on the table, and Yuan realized that the food was making them sleep. Lin began telling him that she was feeling guilty for keeping Yuexian back and was willing to give up her life for her sister. By the time Yuan woke up, he realized the house was empty and thought something bad must have happened. As he arrived at the lake, he saw Yuexian heading inside with her sister, who had already lost consciousness. He wondered if he really changed the future, but soon discovered that he merely changed the scenario. Convinced that he would save both girls next time, he asked An Yu to restart the memory once more, determined to find another way. An Yu told him that this was his last chance, and cast a mystical light on him, returning him to the very start. When Yuan woke up, he noticed Yuexian, and before long, they began another repeat of all the activity until the night of the deed. Just as Lin was about to end her sister, Yuan screamed at her to stop, saying that Yuexian doesn't hate her. As he grabbed the knife, he told Lin that her sister intends to cure her illness, and that they had agreed to deceive her. He said that no cure was worth taking a life for, and that they were better off sticking together forever, so he threw the knife into the window. As the girls began to cry, sad that they nearly betrayed each other, Yuan thought his work here was done, and decided to leave. Outside the house, An Yu congratulated him for his success, but told him that the future could not be changed in the first place. In an instant, they appeared inside a dark dimension, and An Yu told him that the former world had vanished since he successfully changed it, but that the present would not be affected. Yuan was sad that his attempt was merely a waste, but in another instant, they appeared in a new world, and he saw Lin before his eyes. She told him that she could see him in her memories, even though the past could not actually be changed. His desperate attempts had made her forgive herself, she said, and to accept her actions. So she kissed him and told him that he was truly a hopeless simp, saying that although the past can't be changed, they have a shot at saving the future. Instantly, a portal opened, and she told him that their friends were waiting for his support, and pushed him into the portal. Just then, the dragon joined him, begging for a chance to return to the original world. So Yuan entered into the light. In the original world, the girls noticed a light inside the ocean, and before their eyes, the dragon flew out of the water, and they realized that Yuan had returned. As the dragon spewed a flame, Yuan descended to the bridge, and told Anqui that he wants to give her a ride around the resort. Immediately, they ascended on the dragon, and the bad guys noticed that the vampire had been crushed by the dragon. However, he told them that he was ready to fight, but Yuan told him that they would kick his ass back to his kingdom. As the men charged at them, Lin decided to hold Yuan close, and instantly, a mystical energy surrounded them. The knight realized they were about to merge, and began hurrying towards them, but they ascended towards the sky, as Yuan transformed into a god. Even from his muscles, he knew that he had become stronger, and as he landed on the bridge, the force of the wind nearly blew the knight away. Yuan realized that this new power was different from his merge with Mo Fei, and thought he was a water god. Just then, the vampire charged at him, but Yuan covered him up with water, and with a snap, he caused the water to freeze, trapping him inside the ice. One enemy tried to end Yuexian, but Yuan iced his hand, and threw him far off to a roof, completely frozen. Another dude launched a blast at Yuan, but it vanished, and Yuan promised to kick his ass. At once, he caught him in a torrent of water, freezing him, and launching him high towards the sky. Just then, he realized that another enemy was starting to pull down the useless dragon, so he broke the ropes instantly, and followed him to deliver a flurry of punches before kicking him into the water. Just then, the vampire broke the ice, but Yuan told him to surrender, as he couldn't even beat him with a blindfold on. However, the knight told him that he was prepared to unleash all his power. At that instant, he activated his Aurora Dragon killing sword, and he burned with a fiery aura. Yuan told him that he intends to even the fight, and began to ascend higher. At his command, Mo Fei merged with him, and he transformed into a greater god. With his hand, he unleashed a powerful force that drained the vampire's strength, and told him that he was too weak and useless to face off with him. Determined to restore his honor, the knight began sliding over the water, looking to slay Yuan, but he evaded him. As he formed a trident from the water, the clash of their weapons caused the waves to rise, but Yuan shoved him away, proving he was stronger. So they began fighting like cockroaches in a box, and Yuan thought he was surely the most overpowered protagonist in the universe. Using the force of the water, he launched the knight far off, but he managed to land unscathed. With his trident, Yuan summoned a mighty wall that began firing ice spears, but the vampire managed to destroy them until one nicked his foot. Deciding to reveal his own power, he summoned several clones, and they began charging at the wall, destroying the ice with a barrage of broken abilities. As they all vanished, Yuan summoned a water tornado and flung the knight away, causing him to stumble over the water until he slammed into the bridge. With the moron too weak to move, Yuan thought he could isekai him for good, and started preparing a mighty blast nearly as powerful as the sun. Luckily, Anqui arrived to protect the knight, telling Yuan to withhold his attack as she didn't wish to see her friend dead. Yuan was touched by her words, and launched the great ball farther towards the sky, exploding in an instant. Realizing the fight was over, the fairies separated from him, and they descended on the bridge. Anqui began asking the knight why he had attacked her friends, saying that Yuan was too powerful for him and would kick his ass any day. As she held on to him, she suggested that they return to their kingdom together, but he began to leave, ashamed of his betrayal. Realizing she would never see him again, Anqui began to cry. At that moment, lights began appearing around the water, and flowers sprouted in that instant. Before their eyes, a large flower appeared, and they noticed that Lin was ready to leave. She thanked Yuan for trying to change her future, but said that she could never forgive herself for killing her own sister. However, she couldn't bear to abandon her sister, so she told them that she would become the spirit of the lake, and would return whenever she needs her. Before leaving, she told Mo Fei that she was now the queen of Yuan's harem, and could use him for as long as she wants. Mo Fei thought her words were romantic, and promised to satisfy Yuan until he passed out from exhaustion. When Yuexian wondered who would become her new sister, Lin told her to make Yuan her family. As she let out those words, she vanished into the mystical light. Yuan was disappointed that his attempts to change Lin's present came to nothing, and thought he was a useless failure. However, Yuexian thought he did a great job, saying that her sister was no longer sad, and immediately entered his device. Just then, Mo Fei approached him, wondering if he remembered his promise to rebuild her spirit world. Yuan told her that he never forgot his promise, and that he intends to keep it. Satisfied with his words, she entered his device. With the fairies gone, Yuan suggested that they return to the town, but Anqui thought it was the only thing they could do anyway. However, as they rode off on the dragon, Anqui revealed a fairy seed, saying she had found it inside a cave. But Yuan knew he was about to deal with another psychotic chick, and wished he would get isekai back already.